I'm Rich Lewis and welcome to a much happier You've Only Come to Hear United this week. Now, while there were reasons to be cheerful after a much improved second half performance against Brentford, we'll also be looking at three important reasons to remain cautious. But before we get to that lingering doom and gloom, let's take a step back to the highs of yesterday's hard-fought comeback victory that left us with plenty to discuss. Now, if we're going to want to start with the good stuff, we've got to start with the second half, because the second half was night and day from the first. And there were three big positives we can take away from that much improved second half performance. Now, number one, Alejandro Garnacho. Garnacho was positive all game. In fact, he was constantly taking on defenders, creating danger, and if something didn't work for him, it didn't stop him going again and again and again. And there was a relentlessness to his performance that I loved. For me, he was a solid 8, maybe even 9 out of 10. He just kept going, and people might go, okay, maybe he didn't score a hat-trick and you want a little bit more in there to get those sorts of marks. But the way we've been playing recently, that was a much improved performance. And obviously there was also his brilliant equaliser as well, just 2 minutes into the second half. So you've got Marcus Rashford with the pinpoint cross from the right. Garnacho met it at the back post. It was a ridiculous volley, but he's building an impressive highlight goals reel already in his short career. I think everybody can remember, obviously, the stunning overhead kick against Everton, and I honestly wouldn't swap him for anyone on this sort of form. This is what we want to see from Alejandro Garnacho. Now, number two for me is Rasmus Hojlund's winner. So around the half-hour mark, Martinez won the ball back, and after some slick play, Bruno Fernandes provided a beautiful flick on. Absolutely amazing from Fernandes, that lovely little flick around the corner to put Hojlund through on goal. And the finish, absolute class from Hojlund. Lifted it over the on-rushing Fleck, and with the sort of confidence you really want to see from your number 9. So it capped a really top performance from the Dane, his hold-up play was positive throughout, to be fair, and it was good and a relief for me to see Bruno play a quality hand in the goal. I know I've been critical of Bruno recently, but that is the sort of thing we want to see from Bruno Fernandes. Even if you're not having the best game, I thought he played quite well actually this weekend, but when you're not having the best game, you want to see those moments of magic. Number 3 for me was the high pressing in the second half. The first half was a bit inconsistent, with Brentford giving as good as they got, but in the second half, United were pressing with intensity, winning the ball back much higher up the pitch, and putting Brentford under constant pressure. So this is the kind of energy and urgency we need to see more consistently. It forced mistakes, and it gave us control of the game, not by having to dominate with possession of the ball, but by pinning them in their half. And we haven't seen this anywhere near enough under Ten Hag. So the second half, as we've been saying, gave us plenty of reasons to be optimistic. But I'm not ready to declare everything fixed just yet, obviously. There are still 3 key reasons to remain cautious moving forward. Now, number 1, Brentford got at us far too easily in the first half. It shouldn't be a case of, if we're not attacking, we're being attacked. Now, that might sound like the nature of football. If you don't have the ball, you're essentially defending. But in a lot of games, there's some sort of midfield battle. Yet, under Ten Hag, the midfield get bypassed too often, and it can seem like there's no in between. So, get the press right, and you get what we got in the second half, and control the game with your intensity. But it shouldn't be a case of, if the press is off, the game turns suddenly into a coin toss, a la the basketball sort of football we've seen at times. That shouldn't have to be one or the other. Now, number 2 is the over-reliance on individual brilliance. So, yeah, as good as Garnacho's volley and Hojlund's finish were, we're still relying too much on these magical moments to win games. We're not creating enough clear-cut chances as a team, and that's a problem. That's a big problem that we really need to sort of address as soon as possible. And it's been, for me, one of the reasons we've not scored enough goals this season in general. We need to develop a more cohesive attacking plan. So rather than banking on those moments of individual brilliance, you see, I've seen the question asked, what does a Manchester United goal look like? And I honestly still don't know. They were 2 top draw goals. I'm not denying that at all on Saturday. But some games you want to rely on the equivalent of back in the 90s or early 90s. You got that trusty Beckham in swinger, and then you got like a Cole or Dwight York on the end of it. Then you've got the classic Valencia cutback to Rooney, which was always a tried and true method for a goal. And there's something you want to look at this team and go, there's that combination. Like Spurs with Harry Kane and Son, you want to look at us and go, there's that bit of combination play. We've got that type of goal again. Manchester City, obviously, with their cutbacks, have been a threat for years under Guardiola. And number 3, this might be a little bit harsh, to be fair, but number 3 was Ten Hag's handling of De Ligt's injury. Now, De Ligt had already been treated for a head wound, and when Brentford scored their goal, he was off the pitch receiving treatment again. Could that have been avoided? Now, should Ten Hag have subbed him off earlier? It's a tough call, but it is a reminder that these decisions can have big consequences, especially in tight games, and Ten Hag's decision making has come up plenty of times before. Now, as it was, De Ligt carried on having a great game, and we ultimately turned it round. But at the time, it felt like an unnecessary risk to have us playing parts of the first half of 10 men, and we did pay the price before half time. As I say, it's probably a little bit harsh in the context of things. It didn't impact us in the end, and we did get the win. But on another day, we don't get those 2 moments of magic. The ball from Rashford and that brilliant finish from Garnacho, and the ball around the corner from Bruno to Hojlund. It's another frustrating day of Neely's, missing chances. And then obviously the decision to keep trying to get De Ligt back on the pitch with that head injury, and he keeps bleeding, leaving us with 10-minute times. It could have been costly on a different day, but it wasn't for today. And De Ligt did have a really good game, so I've got to give Ten Hag some credit there. Ultimately left a player on the pitch. He was playing really well, and he worked out for us in the end. So where does that leave us? It takes the pressure off the manager for a few days, but lose against Mourinho's Fenerbahce and you're back to square one. We've got to build on this. The second half, it obviously gave us hope, but we need to see more consistency across 90 minutes, not just 45. And we've got to find a way to create chances now without relying on magic moments from individuals. Thanks for joining me on You've Only Come to Hear United today. Let's see if this win can spark some momentum heading into the Europa League and our next Premier League fixtures. Until next time, stay positive, but let's not get carried away just yet.